No alien healer dared to treat her until a human stepped forward. The untouchable patient. The transport pod descended through Azureth Prime's opalescent atmosphere, and Dr. Marcus Reed pressed his palm against the viewport, watching crystalline spires rise from purple mists below. 3 months ago he'd been treating miners on Europa. Now, somehow, he'd been summoned to the most advanced medical facility in 6 star systems. The message had been cryptic. Human physician required. Discrete matter. Compensation substantial. Marcus didn't care about the money. He cared about the mystery. The Azurethian attendant who met him at the landing platform kept a careful distance, her violet skin shimmering with barely concealed disdain. Dr. Reed, I am physician Calamir. Your presence here is unconventional. So I've been told. Marcus adjusted his medical case, meeting her luminous amber eyes without flinching. The message said someone needs help. Someone we cannot help. Kayla's voice carried an edge of frustration. Come. Supreme Mediator Vale is waiting. They walked through corridors that seemed grown rather than built, walls pulsing with soft bioluminescence. Other Azurethians they passed stared openly, some whispering behind elegant hands. Marcus caught phrases, primitive methods, desperate measures, why a human? He'd heard worse. Supreme Mediator Vale received them in a chamber overlooking the city's energy gardens. The man was tall even by Azurethian standards, his deep purple skin marked with silver patterns that denoted high rank. But his eyes, those striking amber eyes, held a father's fear. Dr. Reed. Vale's voice resonated with barely controlled emotion. Thank you for coming so far. Your message mentioned a patient with unusual symptoms. My daughter, Lady Serena. Vale gestured to a holographic display. An image materialized. A young woman with purple skin that should have glowed with inner light but instead appeared dull, faded. 6 months ago, she began experiencing energy fluctuations. Her bioluminescent core is failing. Every physician who attempts direct treatment is struck by severe feedback. 3 are still recovering. Marcus studied the display. What triggers the feedback? We don't know. Physical contact, energy manipulation, even proximity causes her system to surge violently. Vale's hands clenched. Our best minds are baffled. Then Physician Mir suggested an alternative approach. Kayla stepped forward reluctantly. Human neurological patterns operate on different frequencies. I theorized you might not trigger the same response. It's a desperate hypothesis. You want me to try because I'm less advanced. Marcus didn't make it a question. Because you're different, Vale corrected, though the distinction felt thin. Will you see her? Marcus thought of every patient he'd ever treated who'd been written off as hopeless. Take me to her. The medical isolation chamber was beautiful in its sterility, curved walls that shifted through calming colors, air that smelled of something like jasmine. But the figure on the elevated platform broke his heart. Lady Serena Vale lay motionless, her purple skin so pale it appeared almost lavender. Dim light pulsed weakly beneath her skin, erratic and fading. Medical monitoring equipment floated around her, keeping respectful distance. Her face, even in illness, was striking. High cheekbones, full lips, delicate features that seemed carved from twilight itself. She's been unconscious for 3 days, Kayla whispered. We can barely maintain her core temperature. Marcus approached slowly, watching the monitors. His own heartbeat felt loud in the quiet room. What happens if I touch her? Unknown. The others were thrown across the room. Comforting. Marcus set down his case and rolled up his sleeves. If something goes wrong, we'll intervene immediately, Vale assured him, though his voice shook. Marcus moved to Serena's side, studying her face up close. Even diminished, she was luminous. He'd treated hundreds of species, but Azurethians possessed a quality that seemed almost ethereal. Light made flesh, energy given form. Here goes everything, he murmured, and gently placed his hand on her forearm. The room held its breath. Energy crackled. Marcus felt it surge up his arm, sharp and wild. But instead of throwing him back, instead of pain, he felt recognition, like his nervous system was learning a new language. The chaotic pulses beneath her skin gradually began to slow, finding rhythm. Impossible, Kayla breathed. Marcus pressed his other hand to Serena's wrist, feeling for a pulse that wasn't quite human. Her core isn't failing. It's fighting. Fighting something. As if responding to his voice, Serena's eyes fluttered open. They were the most beautiful amber he'd ever seen, confused and afraid and alive. Who? Her voice was barely a whisper. Someone who's going to help you, Marcus said softly, and didn't let go. Oh! The touch that changed everything. Marcus spent the first night in a chair beside Serena's bed, his hand never leaving her wrist. The Azarethian physicians protested, unprecedented, unscientific, dangerous, but Supreme Mediator Vale silenced them with a single gesture. His daughter's core light had stabilized for the first time in months. That was enough. Your presence calms her, Kayla admitted reluctantly, reviewing the monitors at dawn. Her energy readings are almost normal when you maintain contact. Almost isn't enough. Marcus stretched his stiff shoulders, but kept his fingers wrapped gently around Serena's forearm. Through the night, he'd felt the rhythm of her. Not quite a heartbeat, more like waves of light pulsing beneath her skin. Whenever he'd loosened his grip, the pattern had turned chaotic again. Serena stirred, her amber eyes opening slowly. In the soft morning light filtering through the chamber's crystal walls, Marcus could see her true color returning, a deep, rich purple that reminded him of Earth's twilight sky. "You're still here," she whispered, her voice stronger than yesterday. "Where else would I be? Most people can't bear to touch me." Something flickered across her face, not pain, but something deeper. Loneliness. "It hurts them. It doesn't hurt me." Marcus shifted his chair closer. "How do you feel?" "Strange. Like I've been underwater and finally surfaced." She studied his face with open curiosity. "You're human. I've never met a human before." "Well, I've never met an Azarethian princess before, so we're even." A smile tugged at her lips, the first he suspected in a long time. "I'm not a princess. We don't have those. Your father's the Supreme Mediator. Close enough. And that's precisely the problem." The smile faded. Serena tried to sit up, wavered, and Marcus steadied her with his other hand on her shoulder. The contact sent another surge through his nerves, but it felt right, like finding the correct frequency on a radio. "Thank you for not being afraid of me." "Why would I be afraid?" "Because I'm broken." The words came out hollow. "My own energy is destroying me. Even our best healers can't understand why." Marcus had been considering this all night, feeling the ebb and flow of her core, noting when it spiked and when it calmed. Maybe they're looking at the wrong thing. "This doesn't feel like a disease to me." "Then what? Tell me about your life. Your typical day." Serena blinked, clearly not expecting such a mundane question. "I attend council sessions, review diplomatic reports, mediate disputes between colony worlds, study interstellar law, represent Azareth at formal functions, friends." A pause. "I have associates." "When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to?" The silence stretched so long Marcus thought she wouldn't answer. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. "I don't remember." He'd suspected as much. "And when did the symptoms start?" 6 months ago. Right after." She stopped abruptly. "After what?" "After the bonding ceremony season." Serena looked away. "When all my childhood companions chose their life partners, I was the only one who couldn't participate. The mediator's daughter must remain unbonded, available for political alliance if needed." There it was. Marcus felt the pieces clicking into place. "Serena, has anyone explained that your core isn't malfunctioning, it's rejecting?" "Rejecting what?" "Your life. The isolation. The emotional suppression." He kept his voice gentle but firm. "Your people are beings of pure energy, right? Energy that responds to emotional states. You've spent years forcing yourself not to feel, not to want, not to need anyone. Your core is literally trying to shut down rather than exist in that state." Tears welled in her amber eyes, and as they fell, they glowed faintly. "That's not a disease. That's just me failing." "No." Marcus moved closer, his hand sliding from her wrist to her palm, fingers interlacing with hers. "That's you being human. Well, not human exactly, but you know what I mean. You're not meant to be alone. But I have to be. It's my duty." "Duty shouldn't kill you." Serena gripped his hand tighter, and Marcus felt her energy surge, but not violently. This was different. Warm. Her bioluminescence brightened, purple light dancing beneath her skin where their hands connected. "Why doesn't touching you hurt?" she whispered. Why do I feel better? Maybe because I'm not trying to fix you with fancy energy manipulation. I'm just here. Marcus smiled. We humans are simple like that. Sometimes presence is the best medicine. Simple. She laughed softly, and the sound lit up the room. You traveled across the galaxy to hold a dying woman's hand. That's not simple. That's either very brave or very foolish. Can't it be both? Their eyes met, and something shifted in the air between them. Marcus felt it. That electric recognition, the pull that defied logic and species and everything that should have made this impossible. Serena's pupils dilated, her skin glowing brighter. I need to try something, she said suddenly. Don't let go. Wasn't planning to. Serena closed her eyes and Marcus felt her energy core pulse deliberately, reaching out. Instead of the chaotic surges that had thrown other physicians across the room, this was controlled, curious. Her energy wrapped around his nervous system like a question, and his body answered instinctively, his own bioelectric field responding. They synced. Serena gasped, her eyes flying open. I can feel your heartbeat. Your thoughts, not words, but emotions. You're not afraid. You're not disgusted. You're concerned. Genuinely concerned about me. Of course I am. Marcus's voice came out rough. That's what doctors do. This isn't what doctors do. Her free hand rose to his chest, palm pressing over his heart. Light blazed beneath her skin, spreading from the contact point. This is what people who care do. People who connect. Marcus couldn't breathe. Her touch was fire and starlight. And he realized with sudden clarity that he was in dangerous territory. This wasn't just healing anymore. This was something that could get them both in serious trouble. But he didn't pull away. Serena, stay with me today, she interrupted. Please, let's see if I can maintain stability on my own. But stay close, just in case. I'm not going anywhere. As the Azureth sun rose higher, painting the chamber in shades of purple and gold, they sat together, hands joined, energies intertwined, two beings from different worlds discovering that connection didn't require compatibility, just courage. The truth beneath the symptoms. 5 days passed like a dream woven from starlight and whispered conversations. Marcus rarely left Serena's chamber, and when he did, her symptoms immediately worsened. The medical staff tracked the correlation with increasing fascination and concern. Physician Kala filled holographic charts with data that defied every known principle of Azurethian medicine. Her core stabilizes at exactly 92% optimal function when you're within 3 meters, Kala reported during a briefing with Supreme Mediator Vale. Beyond 5 meters, it begins degrading. At 10 meters, we see the dangerous fluctuations return. So my daughter is dependent on a human. Vale's voice carried no judgment, only weary acceptance. What does this mean for her future? Marcus, standing beside the holographic display, met the mediator's eyes. It means we still don't understand the root cause. The proximity helps, but it's treating symptoms, not the disease. Perhaps there is no disease, Kayla said quietly. Perhaps Dr. Reed's theory is correct. That my daughter is dying from loneliness? Vale's expression hardened. That's not a medical condition, isn't it? Marcus crossed his arms. On Earth, we've documented cases of people dying from broken hearts, from isolation, from loss of purpose. We call it psychosomatic illness, but the physical effects are real. Fatal even. Why would Azurethians be any different? Because we're evolved beyond such primitive emotional vulnerabilities. With respect, sir, I've spent 5 days with your daughter. She's not evolved beyond anything. She's just been trained to hide it better. Vale's bioluminescence flickered. Anger or fear, Marcus couldn't tell. You overstep, human. Maybe. But I'm also keeping her alive. The tension shattered when alarms blared throughout the medical complex. Marcus ran, Kayla close behind, following the sound to Serena's chamber. They found her collapsed on the floor, her skin so pale it was almost translucent, light barely flickering beneath. Serena, Marcus dropped beside her, gathering her carefully into his arms. Her body was cold. Azurethians should never be cold. What happened? Tried to walk, she gasped. Thought I was strong enough, stubborn woman. But Marcus smiled even as fear gripped his chest. He pressed her against him, skin to skin, letting his warmth seep into her. You're not doing this alone. Not yet. Her energy core pulsed weakly, reaching for his like a drowning person reaching for shore. Marcus held her tighter and slowly, So slowly color began returning to her skin. I hate this, Serena whispered against his shoulder. Being weak. Being dependent. You're not weak. You're sick. There's a difference. I'm the mediator's daughter. I should be stronger. Being strong doesn't mean suffering alone. Marcus pulled back enough to see her face. That's the lie that's killing you, Serena. You've convinced yourself that needing people is weakness, that connection is shameful. Your body is literally rejecting that belief. Tears spilled down her cheeks, glowing like fallen stars. I don't know how to be anything else. Then learn. Start with this moment. Right now you need help, and I'm giving it freely. No judgment. No shame, just this. Something broke open in her expression, a dam crumbling after years of pressure. Serena buried her face against his neck and sobbed. Really sobbed, her whole body shaking. Her energy core surged wildly. But Marcus held on, weathering the storm, his arms an anchor in her chaos. And gradually, miraculously, the surges began to pattern themselves. Not the artificial calm of suppression, but genuine peace. Emotions expressed, then released. When she finally quieted, Marcus realized they'd shifted. He was sitting against the wall, Serena cradled in his lap, her head resting over his heart. Her skin glowed with steady purple light, brighter than he'd ever seen it. I feel different, she murmured. How? Lighter. Like something that was crushing me is gone. She tilted her head up, and their faces were inches apart. Marcus, I think I've been slowly suffocating my entire life, and you're the first person who noticed. His hand came up instinctively, cupping her cheek. Her skin was warm now, soft, pulsing with life. I see you, Serena. Not the mediator's daughter. Not the perfect diplomat, just you. And you're worth saving. Am I? Her eyes searched his. Or am I just a broken girl clinging to the first person who's shown her kindness? You're not broken. You're healing. Because of you. No. I'm just creating space for you to heal yourself. Serena's hand covered his where it rested against her cheek. These 5 days with you, talking about everything and nothing, laughing about terrible Earth movies and Azurethian poetry, sitting in comfortable silence, I felt more alive than in the past 5 years. Serena... Warning bells rang in Marcus's mind. Professional distance. Ethical boundaries. But they felt distant, irrelevant. I know what you're going to say. That this is transference. That I'm confusing gratitude with something else. She shifted closer. But Marcus, when I sync with your energy, I feel what you feel. And you're not just concerned. You're not just being professional. He should deny it. Should create distance. Should do anything except what he did next, which was thread his fingers through her hair and whisper, No, I'm not. Then what are you being? Reckless, foolish. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Completely unprofessional. Good. Serena smiled, and it transformed her face into something radiant. Because I'm tired of everyone around me being appropriate. She kissed him. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was desperate and real. Months of suppressed need pouring out in a single moment. Marcus froze for half a heartbeat, his mind screaming about consequences and protocols, then surrendered completely. His hands tightened in her hair, and he kissed her back like she was oxygen and he was drowning. Serena's energy core blazed. Light erupted from her skin, flooding the chamber in purple radiance. Marcus felt it wash through him. Her joy, her desire, her relief at finally feeling something real. Their energies didn't just sync. They danced, intertwining in patterns that seemed to rewrite physics. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Serena's skin glowed brighter than any Azurethian Marcus had ever seen. Her eyes were wide with wonder. Did you feel that? Feel it? I think half the complex saw it. Marcus laughed breathlessly. Your core just went supernova. I'm healed. She touched her chest, amazed. Marcus, I can feel it. My core is completely stable. More than stable, it's thriving. Because you finally let yourself feel. Because I have someone to feel with. She kissed him again, softer this time. Someone whose heart beats in rhythm with mine. Marcus knew they'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Knew that the Galactic Medical Council would have opinions about a human physician falling in love with his patient. Knew that Supreme Mediator Vale would be less than thrilled. But Serena was alive, truly alive, for the first time in years, and Marcus couldn't bring himself to regret that. The Council's judgment. The news spread through Azureth Prime like wildfire through dry grass. Lady Serena Vale, pronounced untreatable by the finest physicians in 6-star systems, had made a complete recovery. Her bioluminescent core now radiated at levels that exceeded even healthy Azurethian standards. Medical journals across the galaxy requested data. Universities wanted to study the phenomenon, but it was the how that ignited controversy. Marcus stood in the Supreme Mediator's private office, watching the city's twin moons rise through the panoramic windows. Behind him he could hear Vale pacing, a sound like distant thunder barely contained. "They're calling it the Human Touch Protocol," Vale said, voice tight. "As if you've discovered some revolutionary treatment. It's not a protocol. It's just, I know what it is, Dr. Reed." Vale turned to face him, and Marcus was struck by how much older the man looked than a week ago. "Do you think I'm blind? I've seen the way she looks at you, the way her energy responds when you enter a room. My daughter hasn't just recovered, she's bonded to you." The word hung heavy in the air. Bonding for Azurethians wasn't casual. It was a permanent energetic entanglement, recognized by law and tradition as sacred. "Sir, I never intended. Intentions are irrelevant." Vale moved to his desk, activating a holographic display. "The Galactic Medical Council convenes tomorrow. They've received complaints from 3 separate physician guilds about your unorthodox methods. More concerning, the Interspecies Relations Committee has flagged your case as a potential violation of the Genetic Preservation Act." Marcus's blood ran cold. "The what?" "A law passed 60 years ago after several disastrous cross-species relationships led to diplomatic incidents. It doesn't forbid interspecies contact, but it heavily restricts bonding, particularly involving high-ranking officials from Council worlds." Vale's expression was granite. "My daughter is third in line for the mediator's seat. Her bonding to a human could be considered a political act. That's insane. We're talking about 2 people who care about each other. We're talking about the daughter of Azureth's leader falling in love with an alien during a medical crisis." Vale's voice softened slightly. "I'm not without sympathy, Dr. Reed. I've watched my daughter wither for months. Seeing her alive, seeing her happy, it means everything to me. But I'm also a political leader, and this situation has implications far beyond personal feelings." Before Marcus could respond, the door chimed. Kala entered, her usual composure cracked. "Mediator Vale, Dr. Reed, you need to see this." She activated her wrist display, projecting a news broadcast. The anchor, a silver-skinned Centaurian, spoke with barely concealed scandal. "Unprecedented situation on Azureth Prime, where Lady Serena Vale has allegedly formed an illegal bond with her human physician. Religious leaders from 3 denominations have condemned the relationship as unnatural. While civil rights groups argue this represents medical malpractice of the highest order." "Turn it off," Vale commanded. Kayla complied, but the damage was done. "It gets worse. The Council wants Dr. Reed expelled from Azureth Prime within 48 hours. They're also recommending Lady Serena undergo energy severance therapy to break the bond." "No." The voice came from the doorway, clear and strong. Serena entered like a purple flame given form, her skin radiant with barely controlled fury. She wore formal robes that marked her status, but her eyes, those amber eyes, blazed with something far more powerful than protocol. "Serena, you should be resting," Vale began. "I'm done resting. I'm done being managed and protected and told what's best for me." She moved to Marcus's side, and immediately their energies synced, visible even to the others as a shimmer in the air between them. "Father, I love you, but I will not undergo severance therapy. I will not pretend this didn't happen, and I will not watch Marcus be expelled for the crime of saving my life." "The Council has already decided," Kayla said gently. "Then the Council is wrong." Serena took Marcus's hand, and light pulsed from the contact. "Do you know what I learned lying in that medical chamber? That our people, our brilliant, evolved, enlightened people, have forgotten something essential. We've built such perfect lives, such controlled existences, that we've forgotten how to truly feel. We measure energy but ignore emotion. We study cores but neglect hearts. That's not fair," Vale protested, "isn't it? When was the last time you bonded with someone, Father? When was the last time anyone in the High Council allowed themselves genuine connection? We're so afraid of being vulnerable, of being dependent, that we're slowly dying inside our perfect crystalline towers." Marcus squeezed her hand, pride and fear warring in his chest. Serena, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Because if I don't, I'll go back to being that pale, fading ghost in the medical chamber. Maybe not physically, but in every way that matters. She turned to her father. You told me once that leadership means making hard choices for the greater good. Well, this is mine. I choose connection. I choose feeling. I choose love. Even if it's complicated, even if it's inconvenient, even if it's with someone your council considers primitive. They'll destroy your reputation, Vale said quietly. Your political future. What future? The one where I sit in council chambers until I'm as hollow as I was 6 months ago? Serena shook her head. I'd rather have one real day with Marcus than 1,000 perfect days without him. The silence stretched. Vale looked between his daughter and the human who'd saved her, and something ancient and weary crossed his face. You're asking me to choose between you and my position? No. Serena's voice gentled. I'm asking you to choose between fear and love. Between what's always been done and what should be done. Vale closed his eyes. When he opened them again, Marcus saw a father, not a politician. The council meeting is tomorrow at noon. They'll want testimony from both of you. Be prepared, they won't be gentle. We will be, Serena promised. That night, Marcus and Serena stood on the balcony of her private quarters, watching Azureth's luminous gardens pulse with bioluminescent life below. Her head rested on his shoulder, their fingers interlaced, energies wrapped around each other like threads of light. Are you afraid? She asked quietly. Terrified, Marcus admitted, but not of the council. Of losing this. Losing you? You won't. She turned to face him, her purple skin glowing softly in the moonlight. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever they decide, you showed me what it means to be alive. No one can take that away. Marcus cupped her face, thumb tracing the delicate patterns that marked her cheekbones. I came here to heal you. I never expected to fall in love with an alien princess who isn't technically a princess? Something like that. She kissed him, and the gardens below seemed to brighten in response, as if the very planet celebrated their connection. When they parted, both glowing with shared energy, Serena smiled. Then let's give the council something to really talk about. What do you mean? Tomorrow I'm not just defending our relationship. I'm proposing that Azureth needs to reconsider its entire approach to emotional wellness, that your primitive human medicine might actually be teaching us something we forgot. Her eyes sparkled with determination. If they're going to judge us anyway, we might as well make it worth their while. Marcus laughed despite his fear. You're going to start a revolution? We're going to start a revolution, she corrected. Together, the human healer and the supposedly untouchable princess. Think they'll write songs about us? Terrible ones, probably. Good. Serena pulled him closer, her warmth seeping into every cell of his body. I've had enough of being remembered for being perfect. I'd rather be remembered for being real. They stood together under alien stars, two hearts beating as one, knowing that tomorrow would bring judgment and consequence. But tonight they had each other, and that was enough. Love beyond the stars. The great assembly hall of Azureth Prime had witnessed countless historic moments. Treaties signed, wars averted, new worlds welcomed into the Galactic Council. But it had never seen anything quite like this. Marcus stood before the semicircular council chamber, 12 of the galaxy's most powerful figures arranged in glowing seats above him. Serena stood at his side, her hand firmly in his despite the gasps that gesture had provoked. Her formal robes shimmered purple and silver, and her bioluminescent core blazed with defiant radiance. Chancellor Thex of the Galactic Medical Council spoke first, his crystalline features reflecting disapproval. Dr. Marcus Reed, you stand accused of gross medical malpractice, specifically forming an inappropriate attachment to a vulnerable patient under your care. How do you respond? Marcus met the Chancellor's gaze steadily. I respond that Lady Serena was dying because no one was willing to treat her as a person instead of a problem. I didn't cure her with advanced technology or energy manipulation. I cured her by being present, by listening, by caring. If that's malpractice, then your standards need examination, not my methods. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Counselor Vex, a Centaurian diplomat, leaned forward. You admit then to developing romantic feelings for your patient? I admit to recognizing that she needed connection, not isolation. That her illness was psychosomatic, triggered by years of emotional suppression. Marcus's voice remained calm. Yes, feelings developed. but those feelings are what saved her life. Feelings are not medicine, Thex snapped, aren't they? Serena stepped forward, her voice carrying through the chamber with unexpected authority. Honored counsel, I've read the medical reports from my case. Every Azurethian physician who treated me approached my condition as a technical problem, energy imbalances to correct, core fluctuations to stabilize. They saw symptoms, not causes. We employed the finest minds in treating Azurethian physiology. Yes. Serena's skin brightened. But you forgot that I'm not just an energy core with a body attached. I'm a person with feelings, needs, fears, and dreams. Dr. Reed understood that. He didn't just treat my symptoms, he treated me. Supreme Mediator Vale spoke from his position on the council, his voice carefully neutral. Lady Serena, no one questions Dr. Reed's effectiveness, but his methods have created a problematic situation. You've formed a bond with a being from a restricted species. This violates the Genetic Preservation Act, I'm aware. Serena lifted her chin. A law designed to prevent exploitation and diplomatic incidents. But this isn't exploitation, Father. This is two people who found each other in the midst of crisis and discovered that connection transcends species. Personal feelings cannot override galactic law, Counselor Vex stated. Then perhaps galactic law needs to evolve. Serena released Marcus's hand and stepped to the center of the chamber. Honored counsel, I've spent my entire life being the perfect daughter, the perfect diplomat, the perfect example of Azurethian excellence. And it nearly killed me. Not dramatically, not overnight, but slowly, like a plant deprived of sunlight. I was withering from the inside out. Physician Kayla, standing among the observers, activated a holographic display. If I may, counsel, the data from Lady Serena's recovery is extraordinary. Her core stability isn't just restored, it's enhanced. Measurements show a 40% increase in energy coherence, unprecedented neural integration, and most significantly, complete elimination of the psychosomatic triggers that caused the original illness. All from proximity to a human? Thex's skepticism was palpable. All from genuine emotional connection, Kayla corrected. Dr. Reed's presence provides something our advanced medicine cannot: authentic, unconditional care. His bioelectric field operates on frequencies that complement Lady Serena's core patterns perfectly. In technical terms, they're compatible. But more importantly, they've formed a genuine bond, one that heals rather than harms. Marcus found his voice again. Counsel, I understand your concerns. I know this situation is unprecedented. But Serena isn't dependent on me because I did something to her. She's bonded to me because we chose each other. That's not a medical complication. That's what connection looks like. Connection that violates our laws. Another counselor interjected. Laws meant to protect people, not imprison them, Serena countered. I'm not asking you to approve of my choice. I'm asking you to recognize my right to make it. I'm 28 years old. I'm educated, capable, and fully aware of the implications. And I choose Marcus Reed. Not because he's human, but because he's the first person who saw me as worthy of love rather than protection. The chamber fell silent. Marcus could feel the weight of centuries of tradition pressing down on them, the resistance to change, the fear of precedent. But he could also see something else. Uncertainty flickering across several counselors' faces. Finally, Supreme Mediator Vale stood. Counsel, I must recuse myself from voting on this matter as it directly involves my daughter. But I would like to make a statement, if permitted. Chancellor Thex nodded reluctantly. Vale descended from his seat, moving to stand beside Serena. 6 months ago, I watched my daughter fade like a dying star. I employed every resource, consulted every expert, tried every possible treatment. Nothing worked. I was preparing to lose her. His voice cracked. Then a human doctor arrived. Someone we initially dismissed as primitive, as a last resort born of desperation. And he succeeded where our greatest minds failed. Not through superior technology, but through something we'd forgotten. The healing power of genuine human or alien connection. He turned to face the council. I've served on this council for 30 years. I've upheld our laws, defended our traditions, and believed in our superiority. But my daughter's illness taught me something humbling. We've become so advanced that we've engineered away the very things that make life worth living. We measure everything except meaning. We quantify everything except joy. Mediator Vale, surely you're not suggesting... I'm suggesting that perhaps we need what Dr. Reed calls primitive medicine. Perhaps connection isn't a weakness to be legislated away, but a strength to be celebrated. Vale placed his hand on Serena's shoulder. My daughter defied death by choosing love. That takes courage we should admire, not punish. The silence that followed felt different, contemplative rather than hostile. Chancellor Thex exchanged glances with other council members, then spoke slowly. This council does not make decisions lightly. The Genetic Preservation Act exists for valid reasons, however. He paused. We cannot ignore the unprecedented success of Dr. Reed's approach, nor can we dismiss the clear evidence of genuine consent and mutual benefit in this relationship. Marcus felt Serena's hand find his again, squeezing tight. Therefore, this council proposes a compromise, Thex continued. We will not separate Dr. Reed and Lady Serena, nor will we mandate severance therapy. However, their bond will be studied extensively, and they will be expected to participate in research that might benefit others suffering from similar conditions. Additionally, we will form a committee to review the Genetic Preservation Act and determine if amendments are warranted. And the malpractice charges? Vale asked. Dismissed, conditional on Dr. Reed publishing his methodology for peer review. Thex's expression remained stern, but Marcus thought he detected the faintest hint of approval. This council recognizes that medicine, like all sciences, must evolve. Dr. Reed's approach may be unorthodox, but it is undeniably effective. Relief washed through Marcus like a wave. Serena's energy surged, her skin blazing so brightly that several counselors shielded their eyes. Does the council require anything else from us? Serena asked, struggling to contain her joy. Just one thing, Counselor Vex said, and to Marcus's surprise, she was smiling. Be happy. Prove to us that this connection is as powerful as you claim. Show us that love really can transcend the boundaries we've built. We will, Marcus promised. As the council adjourned, Serena turned to Marcus, tears streaming down her glowing cheeks. We won. We actually won. We survived, Marcus corrected, pulling her into his arms. Now comes the hard part, proving them right. Building a life together across different worlds, different biologies, different everything. Sounds complicated. Impossibly so. Good. Serena kissed him, and her energy wrapped around them both like a cocoon of light. I'm done with simple. Simple nearly killed me. I'd rather have complicated and real than easy and empty. Around them, the great assembly hall's lights seemed to pulse in approval, ancient walls witnessing something new, a human and an Azurethian, standing together not in defiance of their differences but in celebration of them. 6 months later, Marcus sat in a newly established clinic on Azureth Prime, reviewing notes on his latest patient, a young Azurethian suffering from the same isolation-induced illness that had nearly claimed Serena. The treatment was simple: regular social contact, emotional support groups, and most importantly, permission to feel. Dr. Reed? His assistant poked her head in. Lady Serena is here. Marcus looked up to find his bonded partner in the doorway, radiant in casual clothes, carrying data pads. I'm not interrupting? Never. He stood and she crossed to him immediately, their energies syncing in that familiar, perfect way. How was the council session? Productive. We got approval for the emotional wellness initiative across all core worlds. Serena set down the pads and wrapped her arms around him. 3 more planets are adopting your human touch protocols. They're calling it the Reed method now. I hate that name. I know. That's why I suggested it. She grinned, then turned serious. Marcus, there are already 200 cases of recovery using connection-based therapy. People who were fading like I was, who are now thriving because someone taught them it's okay to need each other. It was your courage that started this, Marcus said softly. You're the one who stood in front of the council and demanded change. We demanded change. Together. Serena pressed her forehead to his. You didn't just heal me, Marcus. You made me believe that being alive meant more than just existing. You taught me that hearts, whether human or Azurethian, are meant to be shared, not protected. Through the clinic window, Marcus could see the city of Azureth Prime glowing in the twilight, its crystalline spires pulsing with life. Somewhere out there, people were learning to connect again, to feel again, to risk their hearts for the chance at genuine joy, all because a human doctor had refused to accept that an alien princess was untouchable. I love you, he whispered. I love you too, Serena replied, her skin blazing with the truth of it. My impossible, stubborn, beautiful human. And in that moment, surrounded by the soft glow of their shared energy, Marcus Reed knew with absolute certainty that some connections were worth fighting for, worth defying councils and traditions and every logical reason they shouldn't work. Because love, whether human or alien, had always been the most powerful medicine of all.